Hello, everybody. And today, let's have a very quick tutorial on the mean field game. And this work is supported by Muri. And also, this is my previous visitor and my former student and my current student. And this is a 1 hour version. And we have 3 hour version for this mean field tutorial, which I will post it later. So here is the outline. First, we have the introduction. Then we give this kind of mean field game framework to see what is the story there. And then we have two types of solution, analysis method and probability method. And finally, we briefly talk about the applications and the conclusion. So for classic game theory versus mean field game theory, for classic game theory, basically interaction among the different players. And then each player is a kind of control, is a utility, is control to optimize its utility to against with each other. So if we try to formulate a fish attacking the other fish, then okay, we need to formulate many games, okay, altogether, which makes the analysis extremely difficult. Well, for the mean field, okay, we model the interaction of one single player with a collection of the other player. For example, if a big shark try to attack a school of fish, the small fishes, okay, so instead of playing like this classic game, we can quantify all this school of small fishes at the mean field, and then the problem is simplified from the shark to the mean field. And in this case, okay, the problem will be simplified a lot. So the mean field started the existence of Nash equilibrium in a game involving a large number of asymptotically negligible players. So this is basically, okay, this school of fish, okay, it's very small. And then, okay, it's a differential game and with a large population. And they have three kind of characteristics. First is indistinguishable. That means the small fishes is very small. And the rationality, that means every player try to maximize its utility only. And the heterogeneous, that means those small players might in the different state. For example, for school of fish, some of them may swim this way, some of them may swim that way, but I mean, their state might not necessarily be the same. And then the mean field game reduced to a standard control problem. So this slide is very important and basically telling that, okay, how this, the relationship between the different approaches. First, about the optimization problem, we change a parameter to minimize a function. And compare with the optimization problem for the game theory, the difference is that, okay, the ICE user's utility function is not only the function of its control, mu I, but also the control of the other user. So the other user also can affect this ICE user's kind of payoff. So in this case, it's a game theory. Okay. And optimal problem is against nature. The game theory is against nature as well as your competitor. And for the optimal control problem, over this optimization problem, you have ODE. So the differentiation of Ix is equal to a function of T, X, the state, and mu. Mu is this control, T is the time. So typically for space X, okay, this ODE is a Newton's law, and then they can control this kind of, they can control their kind of fuel consumption and the other control so that they minimize their cost. And then we have the differential gain. Similarly, the cost function is not only a function of its own control, but also the others. And as I mentioned in previous slide, this differential gain can be complicated in the large number of users. So in this case, we quantify this others users at the mean field, and then we try to minimize this mean field gain. So this is the basic story between the different kind of type of mathematics. So that is introduction, and let's talk about this mean field game framework. and what is the state dynamic, what is the cost function, and then the potential solution concept. First, the stochastic differential gain, a classic game of a stochastic differential equation constraint. So basically, we want to minimize the control mu I for a function, and this function is a kind of expectation from 0 to t. We're talking about limited time, and then this is a control in the middle, and xt is my current state, and mu t is my control, mu minus I is the others, and this is termination cost, and this is running cost, and this is termination cost. And for example, for SpaceX, it's changing the fuel consumption such that, okay, the running cost in the middle, and then finally they have the termination cost. That means this the first rocket will come back to the ground with a 0 speed and a 0 height acceleration. So this can be a termination cost. And in traditional rocket, they only consider this part. They only for termination cost, they only have for the satellite. But for SpaceX, the termination cost is also for the rocket. Okay, and then subject to this one, this is a differential equation, and this is a drift term, and basically your differential equation is equal to the state control, the others control, and plus some kind of kind of randomness. So that reason is a stochastic thing. And here in SpaceX, this is due to the wind, weather, or the other situation. And then the Nash equilibrium. This is a game. So the so-called Nash equilibrium is that suppose currently you and your enemy is in the Nash equilibrium. But now if you're changing from the Nash equilibrium to other strategy, other control, then your payoff is worse than you are in the Nash equilibrium. So in this case, if the other is not moving, you'd better stay in the Nash equilibrium. So this is the concept. However, for large network, okay, typically this is for two user again. For large network user, you typically cannot find. And then that's the reason, okay, these are two pioneer kind of researcher propose a mean field gain to approximate the Nash equilibrium. And so for the mean field gain, a player chooses the optimal strategy given the available information that results from the action of our users. So here is a cost function. You see, he compared with this stochastic game. Here we quantify the other user at the mean field n, and then this is the running cost, and this is the termination cost, and then also this kind of state dynamic is equal to the drift term, and this kind of randomness. And here instead of mu minus I, this is a kind of the other users forming a mean field. Okay. And the goal of the reference player, so basically this is one user's control, and this is a mean field. So here, this is a dynamic, and then, okay, we try to find if the mean field is not changing, okay, what is this kind of Nash equilibrium that I have? So this is a definition in the mean field kind of domain. So here, okay, if mean field is not changing, I will not changing from the Nash equilibrium mu star to other mu, because it will make my payoff function worse. Anyway, so this is a mean field gain framework. You can see that, okay, it's an extension of the stochastic dynamic gain into the very large number of population. And then we talked about several different methods. And we have this 4 different methods of analytical method. And honestly speaking, okay, there are many kind of research working on this one, on the analytical and probabilistic model. So here we just list a limited one that we have studied. There are so many different approaches. So for mean field gain in this first time is a mean field gain in HAB and IPK form. So HAB governs the control of the optimal path control of the player, and IPK govern the evolution of the player. So basically, the story is that, okay, if we think about a shark trying to attack a school of fish, then the shark will select the IJB equation to attack. Well, this school of fish, you see that, okay, when the shark attack, they will do the dynamic, and those dynamic is governed by the IPK equation. And here on the right-hand side, we can see that, okay, by using the Bellman optimal principle, and then we can derive the IJB equation, which the shark try to attack. And when it's trying to attack, the IPK will update the mean field, those school of fish. And those school of fish will also follow a dynamic to escape the shark attack. And then the mean field will also change. And based on this change in the mean field, the shark will adjust its attacking strategy. And then this iteration is iteratively until its convergence. So basically, okay, this is a this is IJB and FPK play together and then reach the Nash equilibrium. So basically, this is the concept. And consider the population between the where each player is allowed to choose this control, and then the control determines the dynamic of the player. So basically, this is a kind of a dynamic, and then since the dynamic player is controlled by the Boltzmann motion independent from the other user, the population distribution M will evolve according to this Fokker-Planck Komarov equation. So basically, this is a kind of a IPK equation. And the goal of the reference player is to find the control. And so find the control to minimize this kind of cost. And then, okay, here, this control, this is a static control. Then we can define a value function at this part. So basically, we find the optimal solution of control to optimize this cost function, which is only the state of x and t. And then, okay, by this value function has enough regularity, and then the solution to the is a solution to the following. So this value function can be solved using this Bellman Hamilton-Jacobian-Bellman equation. So basically, okay, this IJB equation in this slide, basically we tell, okay, in this IJB equation is basically try to optimize this function, and this is a shark's attacking strategy. And then this Hamilton for this kind of stochastic optimal control can be defined in this way, and then by solving this optimal star, and then we can find this solution, and then this mu star is an optimal control based on the current mean field M. So this equation basically a very standard optimal control one, and then this equation means, okay, under this situation of mean field, or under this situation of this school of fish, this mu star is the optimal kind of control for the shark to attack to optimize its utility. And then, okay, here's the summary. The shark selects this IJB equation, and then, okay, this mean field, the school of fish will change to the according to this IPK equation, and basically those things iterative together until the convergence. So this is the first type, and the first type. The nice thing for first type is that, okay, it have a very kind of a beautiful equation, and it's analytically beautiful. But on the other hand, it causes many kind of restrictions on this kind of control and mean field, which can be relaxed. So that's the reason we have the later part. The second theory is mean field gain in master form. The master form is a more general formation for mean field, solving the optimization problem faced by the player and the evolution of the population state. So instead of a mean field term, we replace with a random variable that refers to the trajectory of the population and the player. So in other words, okay, originally in this mean field, in the type 1 mean field, this m is just a value. But now the m is a kind of random variable. And for example, you look at this school of fish, maybe you can quantify at the mean and the variance of a kind of a Gaussian distribution. And then this mean and the variance is changing. And then this school of fish will kind of distributed according to this changing mean and variance of Gaussian distribution. Well, this mean and variance can be controlled by this mean field in the mean field gain in the master form. So basically, okay, this relax from the mean field from a specific point to a distribution with parameter. And master form of mean field useful to study the problem where the players share a common domain. And here you can see that, okay, this is a state, and this x is basically follow the is a distribution, and this consider the player follow the random trajectory, and then this is basically ODE for this one. And then we have a previously, and we have the reference player, but now we have this distribution. And again, okay, here, okay, this mean field. Now we replace this x with a random variable, so the control will change, and sorry, the objective function is changing in this form, and this kind of value function will also change. Yeah, because we have an extra, kind of a random variable x, and in this case, okay. This dynamic programming will also change. We'll consider this a random variable, and then okay, by using those equations, and we can approximate this kind of control for this in the new cases. Okay, so anyway, for details, okay, for this part you can refer to our paper, but I think here I just give you an illustration about this second term. And the third one is a mean field type game. Mean field type game is in which the payoff and the state dynamic coefficient depend also on the distribution of control. So originally, this m is only a function of t. So for example, previously for IPK equation, this it's not like a kind of it's only a function of random variable, and then okay, for this might not be right in the sense when the shark is attacking using the mu, and mu here, and then okay, the school of fish should react and should escape. So in this case, you need to quantify this mean field gain with a mean field type gain, where this mean field is not a function of t, but also a function of the control. So in other words, this school of fish will react to the shark this kind of reaction. And also this mean field type gain can be applied when this dynamic programming cannot be applied. And the number of interacting users might not necessarily be large, in the sense that, okay, for mean field, in order to have the good approximation, the number of small users should be large. But here in mean field type gain might not need to. And the mean field type gain is turning mean field gain into the non-asymmetric, non-negligible of individual decisions. So for example, in those school of fish, and suddenly there's a turtle. This turtle is not small. So in this case, mean field type gain can be also applied. And the mean field gain differs from the mean field gain since it takes account into higher order statistics, such as the variance. So for mean field, it's just the one value. But for this kind of mean field type gain, okay, because it's random variable, for example, for this Gaussian distribution example, I say mean is just one value and variance is another one. So basically, we have a more dimension of kind of high order statistic. And for other distribution, we can even have a more number of variables. Okay, so this is again the objective function, and this is a mean field. You see, compared with the previous one, your mean field is not only a function of time, the S, and but also a kind of a mean field, the control. And then this is again this Nash equilibrium kind of definition. Okay, and finally we have the mean field on the graph. So consider a non-cooperative population gain. So we have the distributive strategy, and then we have the graph, and the S is the vertex, and represent the pure strategy in the S, and then the two vertices can form an edge, which plays the switch from the strategy I to J. And then we have the utility function f to map this kind of to map from this vertex to the real number. Is or this PS is the probability space defined as this one. So this is the probability that I'm playing on this vertex. And then, okay, by using this one, we have a payoff of R. Okay, so basically this case, and the mean field evolution dynamic for this one can be quantified in this kind of equation. And here is a neighboring node and the utility function. And this is Shannon and Boltzmann entropy. This is a certain noise. And so this is basically, okay, this dynamic of such kind of mean field evolution. And here is the definition. And so the shape of this graph will determine this kind of final result. And here for the different graph, this is a different graph. We have a one-dimensional graph. We have this kind of lattice graph, and we have the complete graph. And on those things, we can have a kind of very nice form solution. If not, we have to use this numerical method to achieve it. And also, okay, the mean field evolutionary dynamic over this one can be a kind of starting from the initial point, according to this evolution, we can fall into some kind of local optimal, and by using this one. So basically, this is a mean field dynamic graph gain. Okay, so that is the analytic model, and the next one we will talk about two kind of probability method. And the first one is called stochastic maximum principle. So SMP is a probability approach to find the best response of a mean field by minimizing the Hamilton edge with respect to the control. And SMP can be utilized when the dynamic programming cannot be applied. So basically, this is a control problem. We try to optimize my control for this kind of my cost function subject to this dynamic. And so here, what we want to say is that, okay, it's a numerical solution. So to find this fixed strategy. So suppose we fix this kind of mean field, and then we try to find this kind of fixed mean field. We find this optimal control and the state. And then, okay, on the other side, when we have this state, and then we can try to figure out what is we can map this kind of mean field. And after that, we iteratively to go back here, and because under this control, this mean field might take this action, and then might not be the truth. So basically, we come back to put this result back iteratively until we find this fixed point, and it will converge. So in this case, we need numerically to calculate this mean field and this kind of optimal control, outer control mean. So this is a basic idea for that. And then, okay, the solution is lead to the forward-backward SDE. And so basically, okay, those are the equations to calculate this iterative from this control, from this kind of control point of view, and from the mean field point of view. So basically, we'll follow those equations. And here we try to kind of, finally, when this iterative control work, then by changing this kind of mean field, so this equation is basically means, okay, is the solution, this iteration will become a kind of fixed, sorry, wrong way. this equation will become a fixed one, and it will converge. So basically, this is in mathematics. Okay, how can you represent the previous iteration? And then the next one is a mean field with this kind of stackable game. So basically, okay, it's a statistic game with a cycle mode between the N leader and M uniform follower. The leader anonymous announce a strategy, and based on this leader's strategy, the follower determine their strategy for non-cooperative compete with each other, and then okay, when the leader change to then for this follower will compete with each other to form a mean field, so that okay, it will converge, and this converge will have a result of a mean field, and then the leader will change the strategy to improve this the outcome. So how can you understand this one? It looks like the government changing the policy, and then all this kind of a small company below, they will, based on this policy, it will compete with each other, and then after that it will converge, and then this convergence, instead of individual company, will reflect into a mean field. Basically, whether or not the economy is good or not, this M represents the mean of the non-cooperative competition below, which will originally resulted from the policy. And then on the top, the government look at this mean field, to see, okay, whether or not the economy is good or not. If not, or they know their policy might not be right. So they will come back to adjust this policy. And based on this new policy, the lower company or lower entity will compete with each other non-cooperatively again. And so that, okay, the mean field or the economy, overall economy will change until, okay, the policy, the government satisfied about the economy. So basically, this is a key idea. And then, okay, these followers based on this control will kind of will this kind of minimize its own this non-cooperative dynamic, and those solutions can be, if you can use this quadratic, they can have the shape of this Riccati equation. And for detail, okay, I will omit here. So finally, we try to talk about the application, and let's see, okay, what is the possible place we can use. And the many application, because my background is in the various network, and there are many kind of application. For example, for power control for ultra dense D2D, and D2 ultra dense, there are so many users, and D2D, they will cause a lot of interference. And joint power control with small cell is a similar story. And this electric vehicle, now everybody have, the electrical car is become popular, and but the charging station is limited. So basically, how this kind of competition can be formulated, and security enhancement, power control, interference management, caching, and so on. So let's talk about a few examples. And the first one is the power control for ultra-dense D2D network. And D2D basically, okay, instead of, for example, if these two devices want to call to the base station, call to each other, so instead of directly connect to each other, they will call the base station, and through the base station come back. And this will occupy a lot of resources and also a lot of interference. But if things they are close to each other, they can send directly to each other, bypassing the base station. So this is basically the key idea of the D2D. It can improve the spectrum efficiency and also the energy efficiency. However, the performance is limited by the mutual interference and the energy available for the devices. And then we try to quantify for this one. So here the player is D2D players with a number of users, and then we have the control for the power transfer. And then the state is the remaining energy level, and then and also the interference level. And then the cost function, we define the cost function. So assumption is that, okay, the number of users is increased so that, okay, we can use the mean field gain. And fully frequency you use, and most users select D2D mode. So here, the interference, this is from the other users transfer power from other user to me. And then this is a signal to interference noise ratio. Okay, here, signal to interference noise ratio. And then the cost function is that, okay, the cost function defined this way. This is a target signal to noise ratio, R theta. And if my Ri is too big, then I waste energy. If my Ri is too small, I also do not achieve the performance. So I have this quadratic penalty, and we want this kind of receive signal to noise ratio to be the desired value, not too large, not small, and plus this kind of power consumption, where lambda is a kind of a parameter. So this is the cost function that we want. And here we have this kind of objective function. This is my transmission power. This is the other users, and then with those ODE. Every time I'm trying to transmit, I will cause this interference as well as this energy degradation. And then okay, the key point is that okay, previously when we talk about this power control, and we have to compete with everybody. And then this Roy Yates paper for the distributed power control, it analyzed this result. However, here we can consider all the others as a mean field. And then we quantify the others as a mean field so that, okay, we have this mean field cost. So we quantify all the other users as a mean field, and then we try to form this IPK and HAB equation to solve this kind of mean field gain. And here is a number of D2D user, and here is a available battery, and this is a spectrum efficiency improved when this interference minimized, and the energy efficiency is also improved compared with this kind of literature solution. Okay. And that is the first example. And the second example is this ultra dense network, and this small cell. And obviously, okay, this kind of solution, I mean, the 5G characteristic, ultra dense scalability, self-organized, and the spectrum efficiency. And for small cell, okay, those small cells might not fully controllable by this kind of base station, the telephone network. Unlike the base station, which is fully controlled, the small cell is the devices that you put in your home, like Wi-Fi, and those control, especially the real-time power control, might not be as sophisticated and strict as this base station. So in this case, okay, it might not be we have to use this distributed gain theory to quantify. And so we have this coupled system in the interference. Yeah, we have a computational infrastructure, and we have a low convergence rate and robustness. And also we don't have the perfect information, and backhaul is also a problem. And here, compare with the D2D, and we have this small cell transmission using the same frequency, but we have this dominator. So because the base station still try to talk with the regular user, and the base station transmission power is huge. So this is a mean field gain with a dominator. So in other words, it looks like, okay, the shark attack a school of fishes. In the middle, there's a turtle, which is this kind of a regular base station. And so in this case, okay, how could we solve it? And then for detail, you can check our paper. And for the third example, we have this unmanned air vehicle, which the trajectory planning is a control against this kind of Newton law, which is ODE, and the quality of service and sensing probability. And also we have the frequency allocation and the power control. The power control is not only for the transmission power, but also proportional energy, proportion on energy. So this obviously can be formulated into the mean field. And we have the example, and for example, we have this hub, which cover a different area. And the different hub can control their height. The higher the height, the larger the coverage, but the lower the quality of service. And suppose we have so many of them to belong to different company, and then how could we quantify this this result, competition result? and of this mean field. And another example is a UAV flying to this kind of central network IoT, and then try to power those IoT without energy, using the RF energy, and then this can, because a large population of the mean field, a large population of IoT, then we can use the mean field, and also we can have the control of the norma with this kind of UAV with HAB. HAB is a high altitude platform, the balloon, something like that. And also we can have the multi-UAV case. Okay. And for communication, caching and computation 3C network is also very important. For communication, we can have a different type like D2D, M2M, IoT communication. And caching, we can have a mobile edge caching computation, which we can have the edge computing, fog computing, and the cloud computing. And so in the solution, we can have the network function virtualization, software-defined network, and then the net, all those things will become a lot, billions of devices together. And then we can use the mean field gain to reduce, to quantify them, to reduce the latency, bandwidth reduction, energy efficiency, and many things else. And for 3C network, we have this kind of the decision are made. One has a negligible effect. There are so many things, and the mean field type game is more fixing this situation. So in our paper, we use this mean field type game to quantify this 3C network and to do the resource allocation for computation, caching, and power control. And we also saw this kind of caching for this social network of the small cell network. And then the caching control can be also quantified as mean field gain for this case. And there are some other direction like this competition about the electrical vehicle for smart grid, and also social media, and COVID-19, and also this kind of security enhancement in this mobile airport. So there are many kind of different solutions available. So the conclusion is that, okay, you see this is a mean field, a school of fish, a school of bird. So here, mathematically, okay, we have this analytical model, and there are so many different types. And the probability model, we also have several types. We just list the solution there. And there are many different applications: resource allocation, wireless network, social network, UAV, smart grid, and nowadays COVID-19, and all those things can be many applications. And here we have several references related to our paper. Those are our paper. And finally, okay, allow me to give an advertisement for our kind of for our lab. Okay, for our lab, okay, if you visit our lab, and we have many different researchers, different type of research, and also, okay, we have a lot of group activities, and if you have interest, welcome to visit us after COVID-19, and also on our website, especially our lab website, all my former PhD student presentation have the slide and YouTube, and also for all my presentations, we have the slide there, and sometimes we share the code, and yeah, I think there are many resources there, and welcome to Houston anytime. So finally, thank you very much, and this is a shark attack a school of fish with a turtle in the middle. And also for human behavior, okay, sometimes they also follow the mean field. So this is a conclusion of this talk regarding the preliminary concept of the mean field. And for more details, we will have a 3-hour version, which I will record later and share with you guys. Thank you very much.